Welcome back to the channel, and in this video we are going to be building the FreeCodeCamp personal portfolio web page. So as you can see, this is what we'll be building. We have our header here and we have some navigation here, and we also have some project here, and we have this section here where you can contact us, and then we have a footer. Okay, so this is the final project in the responsive web design curriculum. And as you can see, I've done all of this, and I've dropped a video for every one of these ones. So if you want to check them out, you can have a look at it. But in this video, this is what we are building. So let's get started. Okay, so this is the user stories that we are going to be using to build the page. And once we are done, we should be able to pass all of these tests. So let me run the test. And at the moment, as you can see, we haven't written any code yet, so all of these tests are not passing. Okay, so let's get started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here, this button here. When I click this button, we have this blank page. So we'll see our preview here, so that way we get enough space to write our code. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing we want to do is we want to declare our doc type, because this is an HTML that we are going to be writing. So we say doc type, and this lets the browser know what kind of document we want it to read. Okay. Then let's add our HTML element. I'm going to give it a lang attribute and set it to EN, which stands for English. Then let's add our head element, and also want to add our body element as well. Okay. Now, inside the body element, we want to add some meta elements. So we're going to go ahead and add the first meta element. This will have a char set attribute set to UTF-8 like so. Then let's have a second meta element. We set this one to, let's give it a name attribute, viewport, and then let's set the content to width, device width, and then let's set the initial scale to 1.0. Okay, next up, I also want to add one more meta element for accessibility sake. So this one is going to have a name attribute, which we are going to name description, and then the content is going to be what our page is about. So in this case, a personal portfolio web page. All right, then finally, let's add our title element like so, and the title of our page is going to be a personal portfolio. So let's say personal portfolio like so. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is we want to link our styles.css here. We want to link it to our HTML. So let's use the link element, and we say rel is going to be style sheet, and then the href is going to be the name of our styles.css. So yeah, styles.css like so. Okay, now let's test if this works. So I'll say body, I'll say background color, let me just say green. Okay, now we know that our CSS has been properly linked to our style sheet. Okay, so now let's continue building our website. So now we'll go into the body element. So inside the body element, let's come here. This is what we are building. So as you can see, we have a header. So I'm going to have a header. Then I'm also going to have this right here, a section for this welcome page, then a section for this project, another section for this contact, and then we have a footer. Okay, so let's start with the header. So I'm going to say, first, let me add a comment. And the way I add a comment is command and then /, or you can use control and / if you're on Windows. So I'll say header. You don't need to do this, but I'm just doing it just to keep our code organized. All right, so now the next thing we want to do is let's add a header element. So say header like so. And then inside the header element, we want to add a navigation. So now let's look at the user stories. We should have a welcome session. So I want the navigation. Yes, so number 6. Number 6 says your portfolio should have a nav bar with an ID of nav bar. So we want to add a nav element. Let's give it an ID of nav bar. And then inside it, we want to add these elements. So the way I'm going to do that is to add I will say A. So I'm going to add 3 A elements, okay, 3 links, and then each one is going to have a class of nav items. Each one is also going to have an href, because we are told that the nav bar should contain at least one link that you can click on to navigate to different sections of the page. So we'll say hash for now, and then I'll use the shortcut. So I'm holding Option and Shift, and then I'll press down. Okay, so the first one is going to be about. I'm going to call about, and then the href, I'm going to say welcome session. Next one is going to be project, and then the third one is going to be contact. Okay, let's say contact like so. All right, so that should be it for our header. So as you can see, we have our about, project, and then contact. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is to work on the welcome page, which is this one. Okay, so the way we are going to do that is to, as we are told, your portfolio should have a welcome session with an ID of welcome session. So I'm going to say session. First, let me add a comment here, and I'll say welcome session. Then I'll add a session element like so. So this session element, let's give it an ID of welcome session. Now, as you can see, this one has an href of welcome session, and this one has an ID of welcome session. So when we click on the about link, it should bring us to this section of the portfolio page. Okay. All right. Now, this session is very simple. It has some heading and then some text. So the welcome session should have an h1 element that contains text. So let's add our h1. I'm going to say h1 like so, and I'm going to just say hello, I'm Ben. And then we also want to add some text below it. Let's say a web developer. Okay. All right, so that should be it for our welcome session. All right, next up, we want to get started with the project session. So as you can see, we want to add a heading and horizontal line, then some project cards. So the way we're going to do that, let me add my comment and just say project section like so. First, let me add a session element. which we are going to give an ID of project. And then inside our section, we want to add an H2 for the text. And the text that we want to give it is, these are my, or these are some of my projects. Okay. And then below it, let's add the horizontal line, which is HR. And then below it, want to add, so what I want to add now is a UL, or let me just use a div. So I'm going to use a div for the cards. So we have one div, one big div that will contain all of the project cards. So I'm going to give it a class of project dash container. And then inside our project container, we are going to have some cards. So let's use a div. And then this div is going to have a class of project tile. Okay, so we are told the project session should contain at least one element with a class of project tile to hold the project. So that's what we are building. So we have one element with a class of project tile. Okay. Now inside this project tile div, we are going to have another div. So I'm building one and then we replicate it for the rest. So we're going to have another div, and then this div is going to be okay, we don't need a div, so let's see. Yeah, we don't need another div, so let's just add a new. Number 5 says the project session should contain at least one link to a project. Okay, so let's add an A or a link tag. So add our link like so, and then this link should have a class. Let's give it a class, and let's call it project link. And then let's also give it an href since it's a link. For now, let's just link it to, let's just say FreeCodeCamp.org. Okay. And then what I'm also going to do is you're going to give it a target attribute. The value is going to be underscore blank. So what this means is that when somebody clicks on it, it will open a new page. Okay, it will not open the link on that same page. It will rather open a new page. All right, now let's hit enter. And then what I am going to do is I'm going to add an image. So this image is going to have a class. The name of the class is going to be, let's just call it project image. Let's also give it a source. I'll go and copy the link. So I have this here. I'll just copy this. So this links to the images. Okay, so this link, yeah, so this is my image for the survey form that I built. So these are links to the images of my project that I will be pasting. So I'll just paste this one here, and as you can see, I have the image here. And then the next thing I want to do is to add the name. Okay, so let me clean this up a little bit like so. Okay, now below the image like so, let's add a name. So I'm going to have another div, and then I'm going to call it, give it a class of project name. Now let me call it survey form, since this is a survey form. Okay, so what we have done now is that we have built one of the project tiles. Okay, as you can see, We have a number of them, but they are all the same. They all have the same markup. So I'm just going to go down here, copy this and just paste it here. Okay, then I'm going to change the source. So this is going to be the second one. Let me paste it here like so. Everything else is going to be the same. Yeah, I think I should change the project name. So this one is tribute page. So I'm going to paste another one here. Where is it? Let's paste another one. Oops. Let me just copy this right here and then paste another one like so. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and then copy the link for the third project and now replace it here like so. And then I'll change the project name. This one is product page. So I'll call it product page. Then finally, let me copy this, paste it here like so. Then let me copy the link for the fourth image. Okay, I'll replace it like so. And then let's see. Okay, so I have these two images duplicating. So let me see what's wrong and let me select the correct one. So let me select the one for the product page, copy it like so, and then I am going to replace it with this one. Okay, so now we have 4 different images that we are going to be working with. All right, so below the project, I want to add this button that says show all. Okay, so I'm just going to come here below this div and I'm going to go ahead and add an A tag, which will be a link. Then let's give the A tag an ID with the attribute or with the value show or link like so. Then let's also give it an href. Once again, let's just link it to FreeCodeCamp.org. And then finally, let's just give it some text. So show all. All right. Yeah, so that's it for the project session. Now the next session we want to look at will be this contact session we have here. Okay, so let's get to work on that. All right, so I'm going to come here, drop it down, and then first I'll begin by adding a comment. Then I'll say contact section like so. I'll go ahead and add a session element. Let's give it an ID. The value of the ID is going to be just contact. Okay, now as you can see, we have some text here, so we'll use an h2 for this, we use a p tag for this, and then we'll use some link for this. So let's go ahead and then add our h2 element. So add an h2 element like so with the text let's work together. Now below the h2 element, we want to add our p element. Okay, and then I'll say, do you prefer tea or coffee? Which one do you prefer? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, now let's go ahead and add a div. So let's add a div. let's give this div a class of contact container. I'm going to call it contact container. Now I'm calling it contact container because it's going to contain all of these things that you see here. Okay, all right, so inside that contact container I'll go ahead and add, let me add an A element. Okay, and then let's give this one a class. So we are told that your portfolio should have a link with an ID of profile link, which opens your GitHub or FreeCodeCamp profile in a new tab. So I'm just going to go ahead and say class, let's call this profile link, like so. And then I am going to give it an href with an attribute of, let's just say freecodecamp.org. Then we'll also give it a target. The target is going to be, because we are told that the navbar should contain, no, your portfolio should have a link with an ID profile link, which opens your GitHub or FreeCodeCamp profile in a new tab. Okay, in a new tab. So for us to have it open in a new tab, we need to add a value of _blank for the target attribute. All right, now I'm just going to say FreeCodeCamp, like so. Okay, so I'll go ahead and copy this, and then I am going to repeat it 2 times. So let me change the first one, let's say YouTube. Second one, let's say GitHub. Okay, so as you can see, we have it here, YouTube, GitHub, and then FreeCodeCamp. But I want to add some images to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Font Awesome. So to do that, I'll come to Google and say Font Awesome CDN. Okay, and then I'll click this one, the first one that comes. Then inside this CDN.js, I'll click the first one also, the link here. So I'll just click it, and then in my HTML I'll go to the head, so the head element, and then I'll paste it here. So I'm going to delete this. Okay, you don't need it. What you need basically is this, the style sheet, and then the href. The rest, those are some advanced security stuff, so we are not going to worry ourselves about it in this video. All right, now that we have the Font Awesome CDN here, link in our project, what we're going to do is I'm going to go to fontawesome.com, then I'll click icons, and first I'm going to search for YouTube. Okay, and as you can see, there's the icon here. So I'm going to come here and copy this, and then come and paste it in my project, like so. All right, now as you can see, we have the logo here. Okay, all right, let's do the same for the GitHub as well. So I'll just say GitHub and search for the GitHub icon. Here is it. Copy the link and then come add it to the project. And then finally, let me look for another link for the FreeCodeCamp. I'll just say link. Okay, I'll use this. All right, so we are almost done. All right, so that's about it for this session. The next one will be the footer. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here, then add a comment, and what I'm going to write is footer. Again, you don't need to do this, but this just helps us keep our code very organized and clean, right? Okay, so I'm just going to add a footer element. And then inside the footer element, I'm going to add a p tag, just 2 of them. Let me copy it and then repeat it here. So the first p tag, I'm going to say dev after hours, and the second p tag, I'm going to say subscribe to the channel, like so. All right, so with that, we are done with the markup. So this is what we have after we added the markup. So what is left now is for us to do the CSS part of it. So let's get started with the CSS. Okay, so I'm going to hide this. But before we go on to the CSS, let me try running the test if it will pass. Okay, so as you can see, all of the tests pass except these ones. So let's see the ones that are failing. So this one says your portfolio should have an A element with an ID of profile link. So let's see what is happening. I thought we did that. A element. Okay, so instead of an ID, we gave it a class. So let's say ID and give it a class. Okay, so let's give this to an ID. Let's just call it tube link, like so. This will be GitHub, and let's give this one to an ID. So let's run the test again and see what happens. All right, so now the only ones that are failing are the last two, which says your portfolio should have at least one media query, and also the navbar should be fixed at the top. So these ones, we are going to be doing them with the CSS. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm going to hide this, then open our CSS. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do in the CSS is to add some variables. So these variables are colors that I'm going to be using. So I already have them here. I'll just copy them and then paste them here. Okay. Let me change the name of this. Let's say light text, like so. All right. Now the first thing I want to do is to target the body, and I want to change the font. So let's give it a font family of Lato, and then let's give it a fallback font of sans serif. Okay, then I'll change the background color. I'll use the variable, the dark green color. Okay, let's see how it looks. All right, so I'm using the dark green color, as you can see. Now let's also change the color, so that will be for the text and all that. So I'll use the dark text. So I've already defined these variables here. That's why I can use them here. So to use the variable that you've already defined, you just use the var keyword, bring your parenthesis, and then inside the parenthesis, you write the name of the variable. Okay. Now I'm also going to give the body a margin of 0. I want to remove all margins and all paddings as well. All right. Next up, I want to target all the links. Okay, and then remove the underline. So I don't want any line under any of the links. So I'm just going to say text decoration, give it none. Okay, now let's go to the navbar. As you can see, we have the navbar here with some nav elements, and then it's fixed at the top. So let's work on that. So I'm going to target it nav bar. So there's the nav bar. I'm going to say nav bar. First, let's give it a background color. I'm going to use this yellow that I've defined. Okay, the next up, I want to set the display to flex for the nav items. Okay, now I want to say justify content and set it to space evenly. So this will make sure that there are even space between the items, the nav items. Then let me give it a position of fixed. And then let's give it a top value of 0. Also, let's give it a padding of 20 pixels. Okay, as you can see, there we have it. It's fixed at the top. I think the only thing remaining is that we have to give it a width of 100% so that it covers the entire page. So let's give it a width of 100% like so. All right, as you can see, our nav bar is fixed at the top and then looking good, as you can see. Now let's select the individual link inside the nav bar. So the way we're going to do that is to say hash nav bar, leave a space, and then write A. So this is going to select all link elements inside the nav bar. So first we want to change the color. I want to give it this dark text color that I've already defined. And I'll say, I will also want to change the font size, increase it a little bit. So I'll give it 20 pixels. And then let's add some boldness to it. So I'll say font width and then give it bold. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, so now it looks better than before. Okay. All right. So with that, we are done styling our nav bar. So next up, let's look at this welcome session that we have here. So that's what we are going to style next. Okay. So let me scroll up. This is the welcome session. So let's get to work on it. So first, I'm going to select the session. So I'm going to say welcome session. Let's give it a height of 100 because we are told one of the instructions says the height of the welcome session, number 10. It says the height of the welcome session should be equal to the height of the viewport. Okay. So the way we're going to do that is to say welcome session, give it a height of 100 VH. Now let me also give it a display of flex direction of column. Let's see how it looks. Yeah. Yeah, so it's hidden behind the nav bar, so let's work on it. So what I'm going to do is I am going to say, let's give the justify content of center and also align items of with the value of center. So this is going to center it perfectly. As you can see, we have our welcome session centered nicely like so. All right. Now let me change the color of the text. I'm going to say var light text. Okay, like so. Let's see how it looks now. Okay, it looks better, just that it's small, so we'll work on making it bigger. All right. Now let's work on the H1. Okay, let's make it bigger than it is now. So we say H1 and I'll say margin. I want to give it a margin of 0, and then the font size, let's give it something like 60 pixels. So 60 pixels. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, that's better than before. Then let's also increase the size of this one here. So with that one, we have this P, and this P is inside welcome session. So first, let's select the P inside welcome session. So we'll say welcome session, leave a space, and then add P like so. So now let's give it a margin of 10 pixels. Yeah, just to leave some space between it and the main header, the H1. Let's also increase the font size. I'll give it 25 pixels. I'll make it italic, so font style italic, and then let reduce the width or make it light. So I'll say font width 100. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, that is better. It looks a bit close to what we have here. All right. So I think that is going to be it for our welcome session. Next up, let's get to work on the project session. So let me scroll here so that we have some space to work with. Okay. So I'm going to select the project, the container that contains all of the project. So it has an ID, so I'll say hash project. First, let's work on the background. I want to change the background, make it different from the welcome session. So I'll give it this light green. Once again, I've already defined the colors here. Okay, so that's what I'm using. All right. So I'll say light green. And then I'll say color, dark text. Okay. Now let's see what we have. Background light green. Why is it not working? Okay, let's say background instead of background color. Let's see. Okay. All right, let's continue. So I will work on the H2 as well. So I'll say hash project H2. Want to give it a font size of 40 pixels. So this one here, that's what we are working on. Then I also want to give it text align. So let's center it. Center. Let's give it a margin of just 5 pixels. Yeah. Now let's work on the line below it. So the HR. So we say HR. Let's give it a width of 40% so that I don't cover the entire width of the parent. Let's give it a margin of 10 pixels. Auto. Yeah, so this is centered nicely. Now we also want to give it a color of dark text. So I'm going to say var dark text like so. And then let's give it a margin bottom of 60 pixels. Yeah, just to push it away from the project a little bit. Okay. So now let's get to work on the project itself. Okay. Before that, I want to change this background color. Okay, so instead of background color, I want to change it to background. Okay, just background. All right, now let's continue working. So where are we? Yeah, so now after the HR which we have here, we are coming to the project itself. Okay, so for the project, we first want to target the let me see what we can do here. Okay, so let's give some padding to separate it from these ones here. So I'm going to say padding 150 pixels and then 0. All right. Okay, so moving on, let's target the project container, this one, okay, which contains all of our projects. So I'm going to say dot project dash container, and I'm going to give the display of flex. Let's give it justify content of center. Okay. Let's give it a display flex wrap, so that as you can see right now, it's going all the way to from left to right. So we want it to first, if there's no enough space, send it below it. So flex wrap, let's give it wrap like so. And as you can see, if there's no enough space, it puts the next project under it. All right, but we need to reduce the size of the tiles, the project tiles. Okay, so I'll say project tile. Let's give it a width of 300 pixels. Let's see how it looks. Okay, let's give it a margin of 10 pixels and then 25 pixels for the left and right. Okay, no good. Okay, so let me work on the height of the image. So I'm going to say dot project image. There's the image class here, so dot project image. I want to give it a width of 100%, and then for the height, okay, for the height, let's say 275 pixels. Let's see how it looks. Okay, this looks better, but let's continue. So now I want to come back to project container, and then let's add a background color. Okay, which is going to be var dark green. Let's add some border to it, solid. Let's say var dark green. Oh, okay, I think I made a mistake with a number here. Let me see. Yeah, I think that's why. Yeah. That's why we didn't have the color on our project initially. Okay, so that's fixed. Yeah, so because I was wondering. Okay, now let's continue. So we want to have where were we? Yeah, so inside our project container, we want to have a border of 2.5 pixels solid and then var dark green. Let's also give it a border radius just to give it a bit of a curve looking style, 10%. Okay, let's see how it looks. No, there's no. how we want it. I want it to look like. So let's see. Okay, so this is it's being added to the project container. So no, that's not what I want. What I want is to add it to the project tile, the individual tiles, not the entire container. So I'll come here and then I'll say I'll give it a background color of var dark green. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, this looks better. Now I'm also going to say border 2.5 pixels. Let's say solid, and then var, let's also give it the same dark green color. Okay, and then let's give it a border radius of 10%, like so. Seems the border radius is not working. Okay, but let's continue. All right, now okay, HR. Okay, so now let's, okay, yeah, I forgot to add this here. Let's see. Yeah, so now the border radius is working, but the image is looking funny. So let's get to work on the image as well. So for the image, let's see, let's add a border radius of I'll do 10% for the top. Let's see how it looks now. So we start from the top left. So top left is 10%, top right is 10%, and then the bottom will be 0%. All right, so now this looks better. So now let's work on the name, the project name, because as you can see right now, it's hard to read the names here. Okay, so the way I'm going to do that is to say, let's select it first. So I'm going to say dot project name. Yeah, this is an example of the project name. So I'm going to say dot project name, and then I'm going to give it a color of light text. Once again, I've already defined the text at the top. Let's give it a font weight of bold because I want it to be bold. Then let's do font size of 20 pixels. Let's see. Yeah, now we need to center it, and also let's have some space around it. So let's do padding first. Let's say 20 pixels or even 25. And then let's do text align, which will center it. Let's give it a value of center, like so. Okay, now this looks better, but I think I'll do 20 instead of 25 for the padding. Yeah, this looks okay. All right, now I want to get to work on the HR. Okay, because it's not looking really good at the moment. So let's add some border to it. I'll say border 1 pixel solid, and then give it a color of the same dark green. Let's see how it looks now. Yeah, this way better than before. Okay, now the next thing that we want to look at is we want to look at the show all link, which we have here. Okay, so Where is it in our code? Yeah, this is it. So first it's an ID, so I'll say show dash all dash link. I'll give you the color of var dark text, not text. Give it a width of 120 pixels. I'll also give you the margin of 50 pixels. Auto 0 and auto. So I want the left and right to be auto, and then the top and down to have some values. So top will be 50 pixels and then down will be 0. Let's see. Yeah, so now let's do padding. Let's add some padding to it. I'll say 15 pixels, and then let's do background color of, I'll give you the yellow color. Okay, now let's do text align of center. Yeah, and then let's see what else. Yeah, I think it looks good now. So yeah, I think that should be it for the project session. Yeah, so now let's move on to the contact session. Okay, this part of it. So let's come back here. There's our contact session. So I'm going to select the contact ID, or the element with an ID of contact. So contact like so. And then I'm going to give you the display of flex. I'm going to give you the flex direction of colon. Next up, I want to align it to the center. So I'll say align items center, and then let's see how it looks. Yeah, it is aligned properly. Let's add some padding to it to have some space around it. So I'll say padding 150 pixels for the top and down. Let's add 0 for the left and right. Okay. Next up, let's change the color of the text. I'll give you the light text. Right, let's see how it looks now. Yeah, it looks good, except the links. We'll work on the links. So now let's work on the text. So first I'll target the H2. I'll say contact, leave a space, and then get the H2. So now I want to give it a font size of 50 pixels. I'll also give it a margin of 0. Yeah, it looks better. Now let's work on the paragraph. So I'll say contact, and then leave a space, and then say font size. Let's give it 20 pixels. Let's also give it font weight of 100, and then let's give it a font style. I want to italize it, so I'll say italic, like so. All right, do you prefer coffee or tea? Comment below. So that one also looks better. Now let's get to work on the links, but before that, let's give some margin to the container itself. Okay, the container containing the link, so that there will be some space between it and this one here. So I will say hash, where is the, oh, it's a class, so I'll say dot contact container. Let me scroll up so that we see what we are doing. All right, now I'll say color var light text to change it. Okay, that's not working. We'll get to work on it, don't worry. Let's say margin 0.20 pixels. Let's also do font size of 25 pixels. Okay, so why is the color not changing? I'm not sure why, but oh, so I'm applying the color on the contact container and not the link. So I'll say space and say A. Okay, all right. Now let me select the contact container like so. Then I'll remove this margin, or let me just add margin 40 pixels. Let's see how it looks like. Yeah, so now there's some margin between it and the text. I think that's better. All right, now we are almost done. So let's work on the footer and then we are done. So footer, let's give the footer a border top for this line that we have here. Okay, so let's give it a border top, and oops, I'll say 1 pixels solid, and then for the color I'll use the yellow color that I've defined above. Then I'll say display, give it a display of flex, justify content. I'll say space around. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, it looks good. Let's change the color and increase the size a bit. So first, let's change the color. I will say light text. Let's also give it a padding so that we get some space. I'll say 5 pixels for top and down, and then 0 for the left and right. Now what I want to do is to also increase the size of the text as well. Let's give it 25 pixels, and then the font weight, let's make it 100. Now let's see how it looks. I think this is better than what we had before, so we can work with this. I think we can work with this. All right, so this is almost done. The only thing left now is we need to do some media queries. Okay, so I'm going to click here, come to tools, developer tools, and I'm going to scroll till we have 600 pixels. So look at this place, you see so there's 600 pixels. Okay, yeah, so as you can see, this isn't looking good, so let's get to work on it. So first I'm going to say let me leave a comment. Let me say media queries like so, and then I am going to say at media, that's how you write the media queries, only screen, and I'm going to say max width is 600. So whatever style I apply here will be used only when the screen is 600 or less. So now let's work on the nav. I want it to be colon when the screen is small, so I'll just say nav bar. I'll give it a flex direction of colon. Then let me align the items to the center. Yeah, like so. But let's give some space between the elements. So I'm going to select the links. So nav bar, like so. I'll use margin, 5 pixels for the top and down, and then 0 for the left and right. Yeah, I think this looks better than before. All right, now what else? I want to reduce this a little bit, so I'll say project H2, this H2 here. So project H2 font size is 60, so I'll just say 30 pixels, half of it. Yeah, that's better. And then for the project container, no, it's a class, so I'll say project container. I'm going to give it a flex direction of column. Then let's align the items to the center. Yeah, now we have our show all button down here, not to the right of it as it was before. Okay, so what else? Let's see the contacts. Yeah, we need to work on this as well. So I'm going to come here and say contact container. It's a class, so I'll say dot. Now let's give it also a display of flex. Let's give it a flex direction of column so that it's stacked one on top of the other. And then let's align the items to the center. Okay, like so. Right now we just need a little bit of space between them, and then that should be it. So I'll say contact container. Want to target the A, so let's say margin bottom, and then let's give it a value of 25 pixels. Yeah, so that's it. We are done with building the portfolio project, and as you can see there, we have it similar to what we have here. Okay, yeah, so that's it. So if you followed along, well done. And this way we'll end it. I am going to be dropping videos on other topics as well, so be sure to stay tuned. And yeah, but before I go, let me run the test and see if it passes. Yeah, as you can see, that's it. It passes the test. All right, so that's it. That's where we'll end this one, and see you in the next one.